Have you ever seen the movie Precious? The one by Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey? If you haven't, here's a bit of a rundown. It's about a 15-year-old girl who's been sexually abused since she was 3 by her parents. And she ends up having 2 children by her father, who is rarely around, and ends up dying before the second child is born, or soon after the second child is born. The mom and the daughter don't have a great relationship, and mom constantly antagonizes Precious, mentally and physically abusing her, and basically telling her she's stupid and all of these other derogatory terms. And it even comes to the point where she's even asking her daughter, who is 15, for sexual favors. So while Precious is pregnant with her second child, she gets kicked out of junior high school and sent to an alternative school where she actually starts to learn things. She improves her writing and her math and is working very hard to get her GED. During this time, she has her second baby, and upon introducing her new child to her mom, her mother threw the child across the room and started to attack Precious. Precious fought back and ended up getting her child and was trying to escape the situation by leaving, and the mom ended up throwing a whole TV at her. So she doesn't get hit by the TV. She eventually gets away, and she's homeless at this point. And she breaks into her school because in her mind, school is a safe place. And her teacher, once she finds out about the situation, assists in helping her get into a halfway house. And that's when she really begins to make progress in her mental health and stability as a mother, especially since her first child is with her grandmother and has Down syndrome, and she wasn't able to support her. Now, this may sound like some crazy, outlandish story, but it is not only based on a true story, but it's sadly the traumatic experiences of physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, any general traumatic experiences, the lack of adequate education, the mental health issues within the home, undiagnosed and diagnosed, and things like that. People experience that every day, whether it's our family, our friends, our colleagues, a person you randomly walk by and see every day. People experience these things every single day. And these situations shape and mold society in various ways that are not beneficial to humanity as a whole. So, what I would propose is that trauma awareness and mental health awareness be raised. Not only for adults, but in schools. If children can see it and experience it, like all of the trauma and the mental health issues, then they should have the opportunity to understand it and learn about it and learn how to cope through it. There should be gradual psych courses from primary school and up, in jobs, in churches, and all throughout communities, People get mental health diagnoses as early as 2-year-olds, and they get put on mood-altering medications. People have triggers that they don't understand, and these things affect their everyday life. And not everyone has the understanding of the root problems or what's happening behind it. If people understood the why, and they're taught healthy coping mechanisms as young as 2 years old, then we would be having a healthier society. With the coping mechanisms and the alternative to drugs and things as such, I have this toy here. It's a sensory toy. It's like bubble wrap. I used to see my great-grandmother playing with bubble wrap a lot, and she was much older at the time when I was around her, but basically it makes these noises, and it's basically something that you could do with your hands, and it's not really a distraction, but it's actually quite the opposite of distraction. It helps a person focus a lot more, and it's called a sensory toy, or at least one of the types of sensory toys. Typically, it's for people with autism, but we have these in our offices and things like that. And when it comes to doing interviews or having investigators debrief on difficult situations, it helps a person focus, and it brings down their walls, it calms them down from any stresses and anxieties, and it basically gets them talking freely and helps them focus. So that's just one of the coping mechanisms or possible behavioral techniques for alternatives to medications. And going back into the mental health aspect of it, I think in several different situations, say if Precious's parents understood mental health and they had compassion, then hopefully the situation would have never happened. And even if it happened the way it happened, but only mom had an understanding originally, when the movie was being played out, it comes to a point where mom talks about how uncomfortable she was about the situation, but how she just let it happen because her boyfriend had so much control. And she didn't want her daughter to be abused, and but she just didn't have the confidence to stop it. And personally, I believe that understanding the mental health and understanding the sort of traumas that this would put on a person and how they would carry this all throughout their life, I think that those things, and knowing that it would happen to her daughter, would have at least had some kind of confidence or some kind of boldness to take her and her daughter out of the situation to get help faster. And mind you, the started when Precious was about 3, so she was beginning in talking ages, and say this would have been the time where she would have started the psych courses. Children are really good about about saying everything and talking about people's business when they're comfortable and stuff like that. So I think that if a child understands that this is not right, and they would most likely bring it up to a person of authority like a teacher or somebody, and more things would have come into play in order to prevent that situation from happening further. I think that even just understanding the trauma and the diagnoses and the repetitive negative behaviors puts a person at least 1 foot forward in the right direction of mental health. Examining and searching for the root cause in any negative traits you have, any repetitive situations that make you uncomfortable or cause you pain, and taking the initiative to step back and look at your life, any negative behaviors on repeat that you may have picked up because of your environment, and being aware of it, seeking mental help, reading books, and healing from it, and learning to cope, and properly communicating your emotions, and seeking to understand others would all be a big leap with society and moving forward in the journey to mental health.